Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I wanted to come on this morning for a few minutes to respond, to give my personal statement, and to do the AMC response to the shooting yesterday in Minneapolis by ICE agents. Okay. And bear with me because I'm operating with one arm. As many of you know, I got this whole thing going on over here. I was told I had a torn ligament in my left shoulder, um, from X-ray at the urgent care place. But then the orthopedic doctor that I saw yesterday said that it is not um, a torn ligament. So it's a contusion and a whole lot of arthritis in my shoulder joint. And so I'm going to start physical therapy soon. Um, but I wanted to talk about this morning because, needless to say, the whole thing has really irritated me. Uh, and after reading a response by journalist and Professor Stacy Patton, who is someone I really look up to with regard to um, real responses to life events, right? Uh, no pretending, no whatever. And I love that about her post. But the more I read her post yesterday, the more disturbed I became. First of all, let me start by saying that ICE, which stands for Immigration Customs Enforcement, their sole responsibility is to uphold the policy on enforcement of immigration issues, not going around harassing citizens um, that may look or speak like they don't think they should look or speak. That's not their job or their responsibility. So, the first question that comes to mind when I hear about a person being approached by someone with these masks on, for whatever reason they got their face covered, just like the members of the KKK used to keep their face covered. Um, my first question is, what are you stopping me for? What do you want? Like, what is your reason? Your legitimate reason for stopping me, not your bigoted reason. What are you? Why are you bothering me in the first place? All right. And so yesterday we saw the video, we heard the news report um, about the woman in the vehicle trying to drive away and was uh, murdered by an ICE agent. Of course, our Homeland Security person came back with the automatic anticipated lie that the woman, the victim who was murdered, was trying to use her vehicle as a weapon against the ICE agent. And so that's why he had to shoot her. That was anticipated. We knew that lie was going to come. Um, but this is what I want to say. This is about power, not about behavior. All right. Uh, the compliance, because automatically people start saying, well, she should have complied. We hear that all the time. With every person that has been murdered by a state agent, whether it's an ICE agent, a local police officer, a state police officer, uh, the first thing people say was they should have complied. Even though we've seen multiple examples of people complying, we've seen people with their hand sitting down with their hands raised and still they were shot. So the compliance is not the issue, the power is the issue. The death of Renee Nicole Good at the hands of ICE agents has literally shaken me to my core. Not because it is new, but because it is devastatingly familiar. Every time the state kills someone, the same ritual follows. Did she comply? Was she calm enough? Did she move too fast? Did she move too slow? Did she do the quote right unquote thing? These questions are not about the truth. They are about comfort. They are the language of a society desperate to believe that survival is earned through perfect obedience. How many of us have heard it said that, especially in the Black and brown communities, that we teach our children, tell our children how to respond when the police approach you, what you should say, what you shouldn't say, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Like we have to program them to act a certain way, hoping that they won't end up dead. I've spent nearly decades watching this same myth operate inside of prisons. I am the mother of an incarcerated son, and I have watched compliance be demanded, performed, and still be punished. I have watched rules shift without warning, behavior be misread as a threat, dignity be interpreted as defiance, and humanity be stripped away, regardless of how carefully a person follows instructions. Compliance has never been protection, it has always been a lie we tell ourselves to make us feel safe. The truth is this: when armed agents of the state, whether they're ICE, police, or correctional officers, confront civilians, the power imbalance is absolute. Simply because you wear that uniform, there is an assumed power and authority that you have over the person that is a civilian. And under terror, the human brain does not access a rule book. I've heard many people say, why didn't they just stand still? Why did they run? Why did they hit the gas? Because their brain said trouble, and their automatic response is to run from the trouble, to get out of that situation. Your brain does not calmly remind you that you're a citizen and you need to stay still and listen. It does what it was designed to do. It survives. It floods the body with adrenaline. It distorts time and it narrows sounds. It's searching for an escape from that situation. That is not guilt, that is biology. I don't know how many times I've heard people say, well, if they weren't guilty, they wouldn't have run. If they weren't guilty, they wouldn't have done XYZ. I'm talking biology. I'm not talking guilt. That is not necessarily a sign of guilt. And yet, civilians are expected to demonstrate superhuman composure in moments of chaos, while someone has a gun trained on you, while someone is threatening you. We've heard videos of officers verbally threatening to do bodily harm to individuals, and we're telling them that they're to remain calm and just stay there and don't respond at all. This is structural. This standard is not accidental. It is built into the system. It is how state violence maintains its moral cover. Because if I can murder someone in the name of the state, with the power of the state, with the authority of the state, and say, I did it because that person didn't comply or I felt threatened, right? It always amazes me that the state employees can say, I felt my life was in danger. That's why I shot and murdered that person. But the person that's being interrogated or stopped or held against their will is not allowed to feel that same fear that my life is in danger. And so I automatically respond and try to flee from the danger. ICE, police, prisons, these are not separate systems. They are branches of the same logic, which is control first, explanation later. How many times have you seen individuals beaten literally to being unrecognizable by people wearing badges and uniforms? And their response is, I felt threatened. The myth of compliance allows people to say, I would have done it differently. Yeah, you sitting home looking at the experience through your TV or reading it on your social media, it's easy for you to sit back and say, well, I wouldn't have done that. I would not have raised my hand to make them think I was getting a gun. I would not have hit the gas in the car. It's easy to say that when you're sitting home and you're not being threatened. The truth is, you don't know what you would do in any given situation, number one. And secondly, it has been proven multiple times that you can follow their instructions and still get killed. That just destabilizes the whole, if they had complied, they would be alive crap. Compliance does not guarantee safety because we're dealing with a system that is not predictable. It means violence is not always the answer, but it is oftentimes the response. And the truth is, it is intolerable for a society that insists its power is rational, just, and deserved. Anytime you give a person the weapons to take another person's life in any split second, that society has been set up for people to be murdered and for it to be justified. How many officers have you seen in the last few years? Well, it's been happening forever, but in the headlines, officer arrested for killing someone, but they always manage to get off. They always manage to get off. The whole situation with George Floyd and the officer that murdered him was such a big deal because nobody hardly could believe that officer number one was arrested and that he was convicted, because we're used to seeing uh, the bullies in the badges get off because they can automatically say that person didn't comply. Renee Nicole Good did not die because she failed to comply. She died because compliance does not shield you from a system built on domination rather than care. I will not personally participate, and neither will I allow a mother's cry to participate in the ritual that dissects her final moments to soothe our collective fear. I refuse to ask what she could have done differently because the question itself is violent. To even ask that question is a violence against that woman, is a violence against any person that's been killed by the state because they failed to, quote, comply, unquote. Whatever happened to de-escalation? Whatever happened to talking to people? The real question is this: why are we still demanding perfection from civilians and granting grace to institutions that kill? Until we stop worshiping the myth of compliance, we will keep burying people and calling it order. And I, as a mother, a woman of faith, and an abolitionist, will continue to say what the system hopes we won't say. This is not about behavior, this is about power. Compliance is not protection from a system that is set up to dominate and control. That is the Mother's Cry response to the blatant murder of Renee Nicole Good. That's what I that's what we say. That's what we mean. This is our response. Have a good day.